Welcome everyone and thanks for joining our session. Today we want to focus on SAP solution to orchestrate and schedule operations, resources and labor directly on the shop floor. As we will see during the presentation, the DMC Resource Orchestration module can thereby be either an alone standing application or delivered as an integrated part of the DMC. On today's agenda, we will begin with an examination of the trends that have led to the relevance of a more detailed and flexible operation planning. Then we will start with an introduction of the resource orchestration module in short and explain the functionalities it has. After, we will show you what different scenarios and processes can be implemented when using REO. And finally, we will demonstrate you some of the functionalities we presented before within the actual system of the DMC, going deeper into how exactly you can orchestrate your resources and schedule your labor. Before we start, let me introduce our team that is presenting today's session. On the left, you can see Eugenia, who has a very strong SAP background in planning, manufacturing, and asset management, and is part of our Industry 4.0 team. Alexander is an SAP Industry 4.0 consultant and focuses on manufacturing and asset management. Finally, my name is Sandra. I have more than 15 years of experience in the supply chain, and I'm responsible for our manufacturing team that is part of our Industry 4.0 practice. Now, let me give you a few practical points or terms for this webinar. Everyone will be muted. You can raise your questions in the chat box on the right side of your screen. We will collect all those questions and answer them at the end of our presentation if we have time. In case we are not having time, we will send the answers. The presentation will be recorded and distributed afterwards. This is, just to let you know, this is the fourth webinar of our Industry 4.0, so I want to highlight that there will be more in the next few weeks. Focusing on intelligent asset management and further manufacturing webinars around. Like, for example, our next one will be focused on PP and DMC. And don't forget, you can also find the links to our previous webinars on our YouTube channel or Westernacher website. Before we start, let us also briefly have a look at who we are in a nutshell. Westernacher, we are part an SAP Gold partner with a history of more than 50 years. We have 650 plus consultants globally from Americas, Europe, and Asia, and we are 100% employee owned. We cover the SAP Digital Supply Chain Solution portfolio from planning to manufacturing up to logistics execution, all integrated into S/4HANA ERP and finance. For today's session, the three of us, which are part of our Industry 4.0 team, will focus on the aspect of asset management and manufacturing with SAP technology, connecting planning and logistics execution, but also integrating machines, so OT and processes. We'll be covering a piece of Westernacher portfolio, both from IT and business perspective. Getting back to the relevance on today's topic. The industry is looking for technology advancements to help improve shop floor productivity, growth, and ensure delivering a parallel customer experience. While each process and sub-process has their importance, several paths can be pursued in the resource management framework, taking decisions and actions to effectively structure the firm's resource, bundle resources into capabilities, and leverage the capabilities to create value for customers. So in this case, the resource orchestration function can bring value in reflecting the reality on the shop floor, dispatching and sequence operations, and knowing what, where, and when everything is happening by increasing visibility between shop floor and top floor. As today, most manufacturing plants can have different machines connected to different interfaces, it's important to communicate properly. Therefore, the tight integration to the MES system is key to know all that information and the production progress. Letting the information flow and making it available in the system. This reflection of what happens on the shop floor adds more agility in manufacturing, allowing the managers or operators to react quickly to unexpected events using a detailed notification concept. Moreover, the tool incorporates intelligence to visualize high priority orders, machine breakdowns, resource load, and missing labor, just to have people focus easily on what is happening. And finally, there are tasks that can be automatized, like dispatching and sequence via advanced heuristics and machine learning algorithms, giving more efficiency to the whole process. So now I leave you with Eugenia, who will give you more details about the DMC tool and specifically about REO model.
Okay, so SAP has consolidated all these functionalities that Sandra has just mentioned within the Resource Orchestration module, part of the SAP Digital Manufacturing Cloud solution. First, let me give you a brief introduction to the DMC solution. DMC is the cloud manufacturing execution system of near real-time data and analytics built on Cloud Foundry and running on SAP Business Technology Platform. So here in the picture, we can see that the insights and the execution modules are really the main parts of the DMC. So on the one hand, manufacturing execution is an MES running on the cloud that will allow you to monitor and execute production operations down to the individual work center. On the other hand, the Insights module is responsible for data analysis and KPI monitoring. So with this module, you'll gain real-time visibility by monitoring the performance of the production process from an enterprise to a plant level. Then within these two main modules, we can also see here Resource Orchestration, which is the main topic for today's webinar, and that allows to schedule and dispatch operations to the appropriate work centers and resources to effectively utilize the machine and labor resources on the shop floor. Then here below, we can see the machine automation functionalities that enables a tight integration to machines on the shop floor. So this is going to include the fast data processing in near real time, and also the implementation of all kinds of automation scenarios. Then within the manufacturing network, you can extend your IT landscape and collaborate with network partners like customers, suppliers, original equipment manufacturers, and other service providers. And finally, we can see here the Asset Central Foundation that enables to centrally manage assets information for multiple in-house solutions. So within this database, we will find like master data and transactional data, for example, equipment templates or work orders. So as we can see here, DMC is easily communicating with SAP IoT for plant connectivity and machine automation, as well as S/4HANA for transactional and master data. If you want to get a more detailed overview of DMC, as Sandra mentioned, we have held a webinar some weeks ago where we described the key capabilities of this cloud solution. So you can have a look at it, and it's available on our YouTube channel. And in this webinar, we're really getting to the overview of DMC. Today, we will have a deeper look into the REO module. So as we have mentioned before, with REO, you'll be able to orchestrate labor and resources on the shop floor to achieve maximum availability. So how does it work? The dispatch and monitoring application provides an intuitive interface that allows you to dispatch the operations to resources and work centers. You can do it manually by selecting the operation and performing a simple drag and drop to the appropriate resource and time slot, or you can use the automatic functionality and the machine learning algorithms. Within this app, not only you will dispatch the operations, but also you'll be able to monitor them. So you will actually visualize the reality of the shop floor and react quickly to the unexpected events thanks to the alerts management, including operation alerts, machine breakdowns, or even you can have alerts for missing labor. So a Gantt chart will display the planning situation. And thanks to the tight integration to the manufacturing execution system, whenever an order changes of status, for example, is in progress, you will see the changes in this Gantt. Another key functionality provided by the resource orchestration applications is being able to schedule the labor. You'll be able to assign shifts and resources to the operators, considering labor qualification and certification. So you can actually keep track of the shift plan for a worker and reassign the resources based on their availability. Also, you can visualize through the KPIs the status of the selected week by comparing available capacity versus planned capacity. And you'll be able, this is a good functionality, to send emails to the workers with the details about his complete shift schedule for the calendar week. It's important to note here that the REO applications are integrated, so you'll be able to display the scheduled labor within the dispatch and monitor Gantt chart. So with only one application, you will centralize the monitoring activities, and you'll be able to assign or modify the scheduled work and also the scheduled resources. So let's now discuss about the scenarios that we can find when integrating REO with our IT landscape. So basically, within REO, we can perform the scheduling and dispatching of the operations, and we can also release the production and process orders. So when it comes to integrating REO with your manufacturing execution system, you will have the flexibility to design the scenario that best fits your needs. So you can use resource orchestration with SAP DMC for execution, but you can also choose to integrate it with on-premise SAP ME. In this last scenario, shop orders in SAP ME on-premise will be replicated to REO. The production supervisor can perform the labor and resource orchestration in REO by performing the dispatch of the operations to the different resources and scheduling the labor. And then the assignment of these resources, as well as the scheduled dates, will be reflected in SAP ME on-premise. So on the other side, we can also see here the release of the order that is going to trigger in REO the SFC creation, either in SAP DMC or in SAP ME. So yeah, as we have said, once the scheduling and dispatching of the operations is done, the execution is going to take place. So in this scenario, we can see the integration of REO with DMC for execution. On the left side, we find the out-of-the-box integration to S/4HANA, where the order planning and creation is executed. Once the orders are released in S4, they are sent to the digital manufacturing cloud. And with the REO component, we can execute the scheduling of the resources and labor. Once the order is dispatched to the correct resource and time slot, we will release the order in REO. And as mentioned before, this will trigger the SFC creation in DMC for execution. At the left side of this slide, we can also see that within this cloud MES, the operator will be able to capture and report the execution data thanks to the configurable production operation dashboards. So different activities can be performed, like capturing the start and completion of operations, recording the assembly of components, viewing work instructions, logging non-conformances, etc. Finally, DMC-E, so DMC for execution, provides a seamless shop floor integration by easily communicating to SAP IoT through the plant connectivity platform, and as we see here, the SAP Edge solutions. Okay, so then in this next scenario, we can see that the manufacturing execution is performed in SAP ME on-premise. Here, the operations of the shop order from SAP ME on-premise are replicated in the cloud and used for scheduling in REO at the assembly line level. So once the operations are dispatched, the information is sent back to ME. The release of an order in REO is going to trigger the SFC creation within SAP ME. We can see here in the integration of SAP ME with DMC, we're using a middleware like SAP Smart Data Integration and also Cloud Connector. Okay, having gone through these different scenarios and the overview and main functionalities of REO, I will now hand over to my colleague Alex, who will perform a live demo and show you how the REO applications are working.
Okay, now then, first of all, let's jump into the general process we have. First of all, it has to be said that this process is just one process. There could be, of course, you can do different processes as you wish, as your respective needs are. So first of all, we have the production order creation, probably or within the S/4HANA. So the production planning takes place within the S/4HANA solution, and we release an order to the respective execution system, whether that is the DMC for execution or the SAP manufacturing execution system. There the order is received, and then you can either already release it, or you first dispatch the order and the respective operations within there to the respective resources, schedule the labor to the respective resources, and then release the order, all in the resource orchestration module. Then normally within our happy process, the performance or the production would be performed without an incident, and the posting of goods and goods issues and receipts would be sent to the SAP S/4HANA system. But as we have said before, the resource orchestration module is very good when it comes to monitoring the production processes and also handling incidents and handling exceptions that are happening on the shop floor. So basically, whenever there is an incident, you can handle the exception and then go back to normal production. So in order for the demonstration we have later on, we have created a business scenario for you guys to get a more comprehensive overview of what is actually happening. And yeah, it's always easier to understand when there's a story behind it. So we basically now within this demonstration do everything within the digital manufacturing cloud, and we use basically 3 different applications. So first, the manage order application, where Lisa, the production planner, is responsible for and is doing the production planning and the creation of the orders. Then we have the applications of the dispatch and monitoring and the DMC schedule labor application, where Felix, the production supervisor, is responsible for and who basically performs all of the scheduling and the labor planning. When we have a deeper look into the respective business scenario we have created, first of all, Lisa is commissioned to produce 3 different motherboards and thereupon creates a production order. Then this order is received by Felix, and he is going to schedule the different operations that are within the order of assembly, testing, and labeling to the respective production resource. So a resource is basically a machine or equipment on the shop floor. Then when we have assigned the respective operations to the resource, we're going to assign shifts to workers where the operation has taken place, and also assign these workers to the respective work centers where the resources are scheduled at. Then we're going to release the order, and normally the process would end, but we want, as we said, that the resource orchestration is good with handling incidents. We are going to have an unscheduled downtime for our resource where we have to replan our operations to different resources. So therefore, we're going to split the order and assign them to other resources, and then we can continue with the production. Okay, now before we jump right into the system, first of all, I'm going to go to the manage order tile and create an order. After that, we're going to go into the dispatch and monitoring application. And I firstly will talk a bit about the functionalities because it's a very, very big solution with a lot of functionalities. And after that, we're going to perform the business scenario as we have presented. Okay, then let's lose no further time. So first of all, to the digital manufacturing cloud per se, it is, as all of the new solutions of SAP based on the SAP Fiori design, as this is much more intuitive than the old SAP solutions. As the most of you probably know, the old SAP solutions were merely focused on the functionalities, and now it is also having a better user experience. Also, as you can see, or what you can see in front of you is that you only can see the applications that are assigned to your specific user role. Okay, now when we go into the manage order application, you can see that I have already prepared a new order just for the process to be much faster, so that we don't have to fill out all of this information. So we're creating a new order within the DMC. As I've stated before, you can also do this, of course, in the ERP and then send it to the execution system. So now we have a specific order ID, which is the 1600 for the material B222 motherboard. So maybe some of you guys have already seen our last demonstration and will recognize this motherboard as we have produced this the last time as well. We have the state is releasable, so when we release the order, after we have created it, the production can start. We have assigned a certain bill of material and a certain routing to it, and also a priority. So based on how important this order is, you can change the priority, and it will be displayed within the dispatch and monitoring tool. Then we will build a quantity of 3 different motherboards, as you have seen within the PowerPoint, and we have some scheduling, high-level scheduling information. So when will the order start with its operation, and when will it end? When we go down here, we can see the different operations that are planned. So first of all, we have the assembly, then we have the testing, and lastly, the labeling, and the different work centers of ASSI, test, and printing. Here we also have the more detailed scheduling data. So first of all, for the first, second, and third operation, when they will take place. Further, we have the respective times of how the operations are going to be fulfilled. So first of all, we have the setup time. This is basically the time that you need to set up your machine. So we only have this for the operation assembly, and we're going to take 20 minutes. Then we have the processing time, which is the actual time that you need to perform your production or your operation in this case. And lastly, you have the tear down time, which basically represents the time you need to tear down your machine. And the unit of measure in our case is minutes. So now when we say our order, the order has been created, and now we should be able to see it within our dispatching and monitoring module. So what you will see in a second is that the dispatch and monitoring module is basically separated into 4 different areas. So starting at the top left, we have the area of resources and dispatching. So within here, you can basically see the resources that are, in this case, assigned to me and which I am responsible for. So in this case, ASSI, ASSI2, ASSI3, print, and testing. So when you're wondering why this ASSI is bold, It is because this represents our default resource. So when we perform, for example, automatic dispatching, this resource is going to be the first one to be considered from the system. Further, we have a bunch of information assigned to these different resources. So first of all, we have the resource type, which is very important when it comes to scheduling our production operations. So when I have a specific production operation and I want to assign it to a resource, or I can assign it to the resource ASI, I can also assign it to the resource ASI2 and ASI3 because they belong to the same resource type. This we will also see later on again. Then we have the material group, which is basically only important if you have an integration to SAP manufacturing execution, as within the execution system you are going to, or you can assign material groups to specific work centers. Then we have the alerts that basically show if you have any errors within your scheduling of labor or resources, and basically just help for you to make no errors. Then we have the specific work centers where the resources are assigned to, and also the status. So in this case, all of our resources are enabled, but as we will see later on, it can only also be disabled, so that we can't assign any operations to it as it is disabled. We also have an indicator of health, which can only be depicted when we have an integration with our asset management solutions. And here the asset health basically shows how the status is of our respective resource. So if we have a low KPI here, then we should probably not consider this resource if we can avoid it and trigger some kind of maintenance work. Then we have the efficiency, which I think is self-explanatory, and we have different efficiencies assigned to the different resources. So we have, for ASI, we have 100, ASI2, 90, 70, and 100 again. Then we have the different descriptions for the different resources. And lastly, we have the schedulable and monitorable columns. This basically just says whether I'm able to schedule operations to my resources, or if I'm only able to monitor them. Okay, when we go to the right-hand side, we can see basically the calendar for the different resources, and there are basically two different aspects to it. So we have the white area where which indicates that we can assign operations to it, and we have the grayed out area, which basically indicates that the resource is unavailable at that time. So I'm only able to assign resource operations to the white area. Now, when we come to the work list, this is basically the operations that we have scheduled either within the ERP system or our DMC, as we have done it before within our managed order application. And here you basically see right now that we have 64 operations that have to be scheduled to these different resources. Also, there's a bunch of information again assigned to it. So you have the description, you have the respective order that the operations are assigned to, you have the priority. So as we have also seen within the managed order tile, we have the quantity we want to produce. And also the respective order scheduling information. And also, if we go to the very end, whether the order is coming from the ERP system, and also if there are any tools assigned to it. On the right-hand side, we can again see the the calendar where we have scheduled the different operations. So if I click here, I am jumping directly to the operation that is scheduled, was scheduled beforehand. And as we can see, we have two different colors assigned to it. So basically, within here, the orange color is the setup time we have seen within the manage order application. So this is the time we need to set up the machine, and the blue color is how long it takes us to process the operation. And as testing and labeling have no setup time or teardown time assigned to it, it's only blue because we only have processing time. Now, we only want to schedule our order that we have created, so this 1600, and therefore we use the filter functionalities of the dispatcher monitoring tile. So as you can see, there's a bunch of filtering options, but what we are going to do, we are going to search directly for our order that we want to schedule, and we're going to perform this. So all of the information you see now is in respect to this order or these different operations we are now going to dispatch. So basically, when we come to dispatching, there are two different ways how you can do it. As Eugenia already has pointed out, you can, on the one hand, auto dispatch it, which you can basically do within here. So these are the functionalities either by heuristics or through machine learning algorithms. So basically what I want to highlight is that you can do this all automatically. So if you have a bunch of work lists, as we had before here, you can automatically dispatch them to your resource orchestration, to your resources above here. So you don't have to do it all manually. And after you have auto-dispatched it, you can manually address some issues you have and per drag and drop and move around the different operations. So, but as this is not covered within our demonstration today, I'm going only to show you how it's done manually. So when we go down here to our respective operations, we are going to dispatch these different operations. So basically what I just have to do is to per drag and drop come up here, and as you can see multiple things. So first of all, these two green lines indicate the start and the completion of our scheduled time, so what we have scheduled basically. And also what you can see is that these three resources of ASI, ASI2, and ASI3 are indicated in or are green. So because they are all at the same resource type. So now I could also schedule it right here, but we're going to stay within our boundaries and schedule it to here. This is what we also will do with the testing and with our labeling. Okay, now as we have all scheduled all our operations, we want to see if we have some labor assigned to it. Therefore, we can either look at the alerts first, and you see that there are several alerts here, and we have also a labor alert. So we have nothing assigned to our shift that we have created at first, which is our day shift. And if some of you might have noticed, there's a drop-down menu right here, where we can see basically, if we go out a bit back, we can see the labor shifts we have. So we have a day shift and an evening shift. And as you can see, there are two different numbers assigned to it. I hope you see it and it's not too small. So basically the one indicates how many people I can, or workers I can assign to the respective resource, and the 0 indicates how many I have already assigned to it. So as we don't have assigned anyone to it. We're going to perform this now. And therefore, we're going to go to the, first of all, we're going to save it so that nothing is going to be lost. We're going to go to the scheduling labor application. So within here, you're basically able to see all the workers that are assigned to you as a role of a supervisor. So I only have, I'm only the supervisor for Alexander Hero, where I can assign basically shifts to him and assign work centers to him. So we can see the email. So I can email Alexander directly if I have any issues, or email him his shift plan. We have the allocation. He is already at, so 60%. So he has still capacity to work. And we have the qualifications and certifications. So these qualifications and certifications are assigned either to materials or to work centers where basically Alexander is allowed to work. Now, as you have probably recognized at the top, there are different KPIs. So we have the capacity, as we have only one worker, we have a capacity of 40. We have the demand hours, which is directly related to the operations. And we have a bunch of other KPIs, which I will not go into detail right now. So as we have the 20th today, and we have scheduled the operation for today, we're going to assign a day shift to Alexander. So this we're going to do here, and we're also going to do it for Friday. And what we can do now is assign, as you can also perform multiple selection. You can assign a work center to these respective shifts. This is what we're going to do. And now we have assigned a shift to the respective work center where our resource ASI is sitting in. Now we're going to save this. And when we go back to our dispatch and monitoring tool and reload it, we're going to be able to see that for once our alert has been, there's still an alert. So we have forgotten to schedule some other kind of day shift, which I would have to look into further. But as we should able to see right now is that we have scheduled somebody to the day shift. So in this case, Alexander. So if I click on here, I can see that Alexander has been assigned to the day shift, and I can now deallocate it and allocate it again. So now, as I promised, I wanted to show you the split, or when a resource has a downtime. So I'm going to release the order first of all, and as you see, we have 3 different SFCs created. This is basically for every material there's an SFC created, which indicates how far the material is at any point within the production. So we have created it, and as you have seen, it now the color is gray, and so this indicates basically what's that this order has been released to distinctively identify it from orders that haven't been released. So, but now the resource is going to fail. So when I reload it, the status is going to be red as the resource has failed. So what I have to do now is to reallocate or redispatch my order. So therefore, I perform the split, as I've said. So basically here you have a lot of more information you can look into, which I'm not going into right now. You can split the order. I'm going to split a quantity of 2. And as you can see, we have 2 tiles within here right now. And we're going to dispatch this to the other resources of ASI2 and ASI3. So this I can do again per drag and drop. And because of the efficiency, the length of this tiles is going to be much longer. And I'm going to dispatch the second one to our second ASCII3. And now when I save it, it's a success, and we can go further with our production. So this was all for our demo. It took me a bit longer than it should have, but now we're basically, this was basically it. I hope it was a good overview for you, and that you have learned something. And now we're going to, I want to emphasize again that this is only a part of a series of our webinars we're doing. And now we're coming to the questions and answers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so basically now we will start with some of the questions. We have a few questions. Let's start for the first one. I think I can answer myself. The first one is SAP REO designed for general detailed production planning? Well, the answer will be in general, or in a short answer, it will be no. We are thinking SAP REO is only for short-term planning and dispatching of production orders. We are still thinking for the medium-term planning and capacity consideration to use ERP or APO, or at the same time, the S/4HANA with embedded PPDS. In that case, what I would recommend is to look into our next webinar on PPDMC, that we will be showing this kind of integration. I don't know if we have 2 minutes left for the end of the webinar, so I think we can go for another question. Next one is, are you able to show scheduled downtimes within the resource orchestration module? Alex, what do you think?
So yeah, you can basically display the scheduled downtime on the respective resources, and you will also, you can either maintain it manually within the DMC, and you can it is also will be displayed within the resource orchestration module. So if you can remember the white and the grayed out area, so it would basically be then grayed out, and you can't schedule anything to the respective resource in that period of time.
Okay, thanks. 1 minute left, so we have another one. Where does the master data for employee scheduling come from? In particular, qualifications and certifications. Is it from human resources model in ERP? Eugenia, can you answer, please?
Yes. So for now, the master data for employee, we're doing it manually through manual input or Excel import. But in the future, according to the roadmap, the transfer will come from the HR module. So we're waiting for it, and we'll see how it works. For now, it's just manual input or Excel input. Okay, so thanks. Well, we reached the end of our time on the webinar. The remaining questions that we didn't answer, will be contacting you in detail via mail and answering your questions. So no problem for those questions that hasn't been answered yet. And I'd like to thank you, all of you, for having us here with this series. And let's see us in the next series that will be on PP and DMC. Thank you very much, and have a good day.